My real name that I was born with is Sven Kribavats. My Islamic name is Sayyid Yassin Rashid. Now you might wonder how it comes that I'm a convert and a Sayyid, so we get to that, inshallah. I was born and raised in Berlin, Germany, for 20 years. Most of my life I was raised by my grandmother and my aunt, less with my mom. I didn't have quite the best relationship with my mother throughout my childhood. So therefore I kind of was really attached to my grandmother, so I stayed with her mostly. And she was the one who raised me God conscious and religious, I would say. Since my early childhood, I would say 5, 6 years old, I remember every night before going to sleep, she said, pray to God, you know, in the name of Jesus, the Holy Son. I don't know anymore how it was, but, and the funny thing was, even though I was raised in a Christian family and we went to church on Sundays and everything, which I found, I remember, to just bring it up here right now, it was quite a cold atmosphere, not very welcome, you know, everything made of stone and brick and, you know. So, but we went there, and even though I was raised in a Christian background, I never was raised with the idea or had the idea of Trinity. That never came into my mind, that God is three. Somehow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this fitra in me, like I had that my entire childhood on that Allah is one, and we do not perceive Him, we do not know, like you cannot point at Him, He's without space and place, like, you know, you don't know where God is just there, it's everywhere basically, you know, like the concept of Allah. That was already in me, and I kind of felt, I remember, that somebody is watching me, like I felt watched constantly. And so I had, from early on, I built a relationship to God, talking to Him, I guess, when I was sad. Well, when it comes to celebrating Christian holidays, especially I'm born on Christmas Day, actually, 25th of December. So it was quite always birthday and Christmas. You get one gift, you know. So, but the thing is that no, it was quite nice. Like we always met at my grandmother's house. She cooked and everything and baked. It was pretty nice. We had a pretty healthy, comfortable family get-together, family life. So it was a nice upbringing in that sense, and I'm really thankful to these three women that raised me. Even though I didn't have the best relationship with my mom, which now through Islam I try to be more there for my mother and try to, even though it's still hard, but you know, have a stronger connection with her, inshallah. Unfortunately, my grandmother died about 4 years ago, and my aunt just 2 years ago. And I kind of feel empty now when I go back to Germany. I have a sister there from my mom's side, but a different father, which also embraced Islam in the beginning and then left it again. I remember one time I came to her place and I saw the Quran there, and she was 16 years old. I'm like, what's the Quran doing here? And she's like, yeah, I converted. I'm like, oh. So through her boyfriend that she had, and then unfortunately they didn't marry, so she kind of left it again. But still, I love her very much, and yeah, she's a great person. I was raised by my grandmother mostly, and I was raised without a father. Okay, my entire life, my family, until I was 14, and my aunt actually told me otherwise. I was told that my father died. Okay, my mom and dad got married Islamically. They met in Berlin. He came as a student for architecture. Okay, so and he met my mom through friends, I guess, and she's from Bosnia. I mentioned that, right? My mom is from Bosnia, my dad from Iraq. So he heard a lot of good things about my mom. So he wanted to then, you know, get to know her, and they got married. I saw the pictures, they had a nikah and everything, Islamically. And just about within the first year, she got pregnant. And just short before she gave birth, they separated. They had a divorce. But he kept calling my grandmother, asking, is my son born yet? Is my son born? Is he here yet? And my mom, she got scared as she told me that he will take me away from her. So she said to my grandmother, next time when he calls, tell him that the child died. Okay, so she did that. And he left thinking that I'm dead. As I found out later, a friend of his told him, no, they lied to you, you have a son, right? But as I know now, he was scared to come after me. He didn't want to get involved with police, or didn't want to, he was scared of that, so he let it go. I remember asking my mom my entire life about him, because I wanted to know my identity, what is my other half? I said, what's his name, where's he from, this, that. And she always gave me like bits and pieces, like his name is Fakhri Aldin Rashid Ibrahim, he's from Iraq, his birthday was somewhat in May, like very little things, and I couldn't do anything with that. I couldn't rhyme anything together on that. And she said one time, there's a famous mall, it's called some Europe Mall or something in Berlin, and she said, he saw you when you were 4 years old, we passed him by and he was hiding. I never believed her though, but he told me later, yeah, it's true, because he was scared to come after me, he didn't want to get in trouble. And I never believed her actually. And I remember it was really hard on me as a child, being without a father. Like I always wanted a father figure, and I wanted to know, what do I have from him? What is my second half, right? And I remember in kindergarten, once I sat on the ground. I was maybe like 4 or 5 years old, and I listened to, there was some keyboard or something that had automated music, and it was some sad music, and I got really emotional, and I was on the floor. I kneeled down and I had tears in my eyes. I looked up in the sky. I was like, where is he? Like, I want to know where my father is. And my mom, she had her wedding picture with my dad framed in a plate, like as they did the picture framed in a plate. And my stepfather, the father of my sister in Germany, that I have the same mother with, he got jealous and he broke it. He smacked it on the ground. What happened is, the whole plate broke except one piece, the face of my father. Okay, just the face remained. This was the only piece I had to imagine what my father looks like. This was like a treasure to me. Okay, I still have that picture. And so this was, this part of my life. And my grandmother always used to say, inshallah one day, she's a strong Christian. She's like, God willing, one day when you're older, we will buy you a ticket and you go to Baghdad and you look for him. And I remember there was this cartoon, Sinbad, and he goes to Baghdad all the time. So I always imagined that I will go with a ship, like a Sinbad ship. I go to Baghdad, right? It was funny as a child, you imagine these things. So, and until I was 14, my family told me, no, he died, we don't know where he is, right? They probably wanted to quiet me down because of my stepfather, because he was actually a quite bad guy. So then when I was 14, my aunt, which is really, really a great woman, she's not a Muslim, but honestly, even in her last days of life, she was very patient, like you would expect from a good mu'minah. May Allah, inshallah, grant her mercy. And she told me, no, you know what, your father is probably still alive, but we don't know where he is, right? So they lied to you the whole time. So this was quite a shock for me, and obviously I had hope as well. So it was around 14. So when I was 16 years old, I had a friend, a Turkish friend, Ferhat. His father had a big company for fruits and vegetables, a fruits and vegetables wholesale company. And I worked there, I would say 6 days a week from 9 p.m. until 4 a.m. in the morning. And if I look back, I don't know how I did it. Like every day the same thing. And I had to walk, and then with the bus, and then take night bus and everything. And so at that work, there was a Muslim brother, Sami. Okay, at that time this guy was like, even though I wouldn't say he's not nice, but at that time I really loved him. I really liked him, like his appearance. He was very friendly. He had, you know, bushy beard, and he looked nice. You know, like not like Wahhabi beardish, but like it was how you say, he took very care of himself. And I saw him pray once in a while, you know, and then he asked me, he's like, so where are you from? I said, my dad is from Iraq, my mom from Bosnia, my dad from Iraq. He's like, oh, your dad is Arab? I said, yeah. He's like, where is your dad? I said, I don't know. I don't have a father. I can't tell you. He's like, what do you mean you have a father? I never met him. Like, this is what it is. I told him the story. He's like, that's not acceptable. We got to do something about that. I said, okay, what? He's like, well, I know a man. His name is Abd al-Jabbar. I'll talk to him. Maybe he can help find your father. I said, it would be great. So we ended up meeting that Abd al-Jabbar. So we went to this brother, and I was 16, a pretty shy and quiet guy, you know. So, and he looked like I would describe a Taliban today, you know, turban and long beard and la la la, you know. But I remember I was in his house. I came twice to his place, and we drove. After this, we went out and we drove around. What we did, the picture that I had of my dad's face, we copied it in a larger scale, and we went from place to place, like from Iraqi cafes, I don't know, stuff like that. So we asked around, do you know this guy, do you know this guy? So we tried to find him. When I Googled about my father, and I didn't even know his proper name, I couldn't find anything. I was looking, architect, Rashid, or something like that, right? I remember, and I couldn't find anything about him. So time passed by, 17, 18, around that time. I went to we had a youth center called Fuchsbau. It's like the foxhole or something. It was a huge building. In Germany in the past, it was meant to be for the Hitler youth. But anyway, they restored it and made it a youth center. So we did rap music there. Okay, me and some other guys. So I was one of the rappers. And the guy in charge, he always changed the people around him, like singers, rappers, etc. So he had one guy there, Serkan, his name. He was a singer, beautiful voice, half Pakistani, half Turkish, long hair. You know, he looked like a goof to me at that time. I was like, who's this guy, man? Like, you know, I was annoyed by his presence somehow. I don't know. You know, it was really bad. Yeah, astaghfirullah. But you know, I kind of in the beginning, I was like, I don't know. I don't like that guy. So what happened is I used to write poetry, right? I have it until now, German poetry. I had the talent of writing in a really nice old German style. I kind of lost that now, but so it was a pretty deep poetry that I wrote, right? So one day, I don't know how, we were walking, and I had my poetry book with me, and the Serkan, he came and he was kind of curious. He's like, what is that? I said, my poetry book. I said, really, you write poetry? I said, yeah. So he read it. He's like, mashallah, brother, this is very beautiful, you know, very beautiful stuff that you write. I said, really? And this was kind of the common ground we had. And I realized this guy is not so bad. He's a really nice guy, right? So we became, from this day on, we became the closest friends you can imagine. Like, you know, obviously it built up over time, over small time, but we became very, very close, like constantly together, like shadow and body, you know, really. Until now, he's one of my best friends. And he was a Sunni Muslim. At that time, not very religious. And I have to say, quick to this, I kind of, when I look back, I had a lot of Muslim friends in my life. Hashim was one guy from Albania. Super nice guy, but not guided. But he was a Muslim. Another guy, Untung, from Indonesia, also super nice, but also not very religious. So I kind of think Allah had me with some people, but then He parted my way with them because, you know, maybe they weren't the right people. But with Serkan, somehow it got stuck, because Serkan is a very strong and sincere person, right? Like he says, I do this, that's it. You know, if there's something haram, it's haram. We scratch it off the list. Like he's very strong personality. So I needed somebody like that. So Serkan started in that time to become more religious. And as that progressed with him, he took me along this way. So through our friendship, we became closer and closer. So, for example, one day, like he taught me